All right, guys, welcome back to this week's second video lecture. This one will be a quick one. Our last video kind of wrapped up chapter 3, so we're going to be heading into chapter 4, and we're going to be talking a lot about rocks. So today we're going to talk about elements, compounds, and a little bit about minerals. All right, so let's get started. All right, so let's talk about elements, compounds, and molecules. So everything around us is made of atoms. You've probably talked about this before in science, so this should be a review. And an atom is just the smallest form of matter that forms a chemical element. And what is an element? An element consists of only one kind of atom. It cannot be broken down into any simpler form of matter. Yes, an atom is made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons, but when we're talking about an element, it can't be broken down into something else. The elements can exist as single atoms, or they can be molecules as well. And a molecule is just two or more atoms of the same element or a different element that are bound together. So oxygen, for example, is an element, but oxygen rarely in nature is found by itself as a single element. It's often in a molecule that contains two oxygen atoms. So and that molecule of oxygen is made up of just two oxygen atoms, whereas a molecule of water is made up of a mixture of different atoms in a fixed proportion. So water is H2O, so water contains two hydrogen atoms as well as one oxygen atom. All right, next we have a compound. So a compound consists of atoms of two or more different elements that are bound together. They can be broken down into a simpler type of matter. So compounds can be broken down back into elements. For example, water can be broken down back into oxygen gas and hydrogen gas. But the key thing to remember, and I'll remove my head from this area, is that when you do that, the properties of that compound or the elements change. So for instance, in H2O, which is a compound, we have a molecule that's a liquid at room temperature, is not flammable, things like that. But when H2O is broken down into its most simple components, meaning oxygen gas and hydrogen, those are both very flammable elements. So you can see that the properties, when those are bound together in a fixed proportion, the properties of those elements change. All right, finally we have minerals. Minerals are naturally occurring inorganic compounds and elements that have an orderly composition. And I'm just going to get rid of my head because I'll be in the way of these pictures and I want you guys to see it. So different minerals form in different combinations of elements, which is responsible for how they're, when they bond together, it's responsible for why different minerals have different types of shapes. So you can see over here, this mineral is, let me get my pen, forms a crystal when bound together. So you have some fascinating geometry there. And down here we have gold, and when gold forms, it forms in these little square nuggets. So the different combinations of elements that exist in minerals give them different shapes. Most minerals are compounds, but some elements can be minerals as well. So for example, copper, silver, and gold are all both elements as well as minerals. And then a few scientists can identify minerals a few different ways. So they can be identified by their color, their streak, which is just the color of powder they produce, and also luster, which is how shiny they are, how well they reflect light. All right, so that is it for compounds, elements, and minerals. This was just supposed to be a very brief introductory sort of virtual lecture. I will make an Edpuzzle video out of this. There will be questions you guys have to answer, obviously with that. And I'll also assign you another Edpuzzle video to watch after this, and you will also have to answer questions for a grade about that video, and that video will just be on minerals. All right, that's it for this week's remote video lectures. As always, if you have any questions on any of the videos that I have assigned to you, any of the assignments I assigned to you, reach out and let me know. Other than that, have a great night or day, and I'll see you in class.